This is the backdrop that made room for Paolo Zampoli. He was the founder of ID Models in the mid-1990s and was later Trump's director of international development. And this guy, from everything I read about him, is a really despicable human being. Paolo presented models like Melania Naus to Donald back in 1998. Literally, Donald married one of his models. I have nothing to base this on other than just like my womanly instinct, but I feel like it's a red flag when models from Eastern Europe show up on these H-1B visas, don't become stars, and then the agency vanishes once its boss enters the Oval Office. I don't know. It seems fishy to me. You know why it seems fishy to me? Because it wasn't really about fashion. It seems like it was about access to these hot young girls for men. It was about young women, usually in their late teens or early 20s, mostly from Eastern Europe, flown in on H-1B visas meant for highly distinguished talent. And these are 14-year-old girls, right? It's not like they're flying in some famous opera singer. These girls were often like barely out of middle school. And they were promised stardom in New York City, ended up living in crowded apartments, getting paid pennies while Trump collected headlines and access to a global menu of women. One thing that stands out amongst a lot of these models is that many of them came from very poor backgrounds, like he was scouting models in very impoverished parts of the world, specifically families that were very poor. And some of those that came from the United States themselves were from like Tennessee, and a lot of stories of like single moms who could barely pay the rent, very vulnerable girls. One former model told Mother Jones she worked without a visa, lived in a cramped apartment with 5 other girls, and earned so little that she was constantly in debt to the agency. Another described it as indentured servitude with lipstick. The other thing that's so suspect to me is, again, according to those immigration records, Trump's agency filed those 250 visa petitions for models between 2015 and 2016 alone. That's not scouting talent. That's running a pipeline. The Melania thing is such a red flag to me, too. Paolo wasn't just supplying models to the industry. He was providing this dating service. You know, he was the one that introduced Melania to Donald at a party in 1998. And that's very unprofessional. As an agency, I would have the expectation that you are not introducing your professionals to men to bed and wed. Huge red flags. The Politico playbook once described Powell this way: he was a continuation of Trump's Sodom and Gomorrah. Let me repeat that. I think that's a great quote. Paolo was a continuation of Trump's Sodom and Gomorrah. I used to be a Bible girl, and Sodom and Gomorrah is not something that you want to be compared to. This wasn't about pageants. This seems to just be a system. Wealthy, powerful men at the top